They said, "You shouldn't have found out until they turned 18, had my wife's parents said after I overheard them whispering in my kitchen, of all places, about the moment I realized everything in my marriage was a lie. I was standing there with a tray of deviled eggs, supposed to be celebrating our son's birthday. Instead, I found out my marriage was a lie, and their plan? Keep me in the dark until my own kids were grown. What I did next? Let's just say, no one saw it coming. I've always been the guy who never liked surprises. I plan. I prepare. That Saturday was no different. It was our son Ethan's 9th birthday, and I'd gone out to grab the last of the party snacks, some fancy cheese board my wife, Rachel, insisted on having. We'd invited her parents, her brother, and a few close family friends. Just a cozy afternoon. I thought everything was fine. As I came back through the back door, balancing the grocery bags in one hand and some drinks in the other, I heard voices drifting from the kitchen. I was about to call out when something made me stop. Call it a gut feeling or dumb luck, but I paused just outside the doorway, hearing my in-laws whispering. Her mom's voice was low but sharp. I told her, "Don't let him find out. Not until the kids are grown. He'd leave for sure, and she won't survive that with no money or backup plan." Her dad sighed. "We should have insisted she cut it off. He's a good man. God help us if he ever finds out the truth about James." I froze. James? I backed away silently, like my own floorboards had betrayed me. My heart pounded in my ears. I stood there behind the wall, groceries still in hand, as their words spun my world sideways. My relationship was built on lies. Even her parents were in on it. Not until our kids were grown. Like I was some tool to be used until I'd served my purpose. I took a moment to breathe, put the food down quietly, and walked in with a smile like nothing had happened. "Got the cheese," I said. They jolted like guilty kids caught mid-lie. Rachel came out from the den, smiled that perfect smile, kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal. And I smiled right back. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed confirmation, evidence, and I needed a plan. The rest of the party went by in a blur. Rachel looked radiant, laughing with guests, brushing her hand against mine every now and then. A regular doting wife. I watched her like a scientist observes a subject. Not my wife anymore, just a stranger in familiar skin. Later that night, while she showered, I checked her phone. I'd never done that in our 10 years of marriage. But tonight, I was a different man. And then I saw it. James. So many messages. Some erased, but one slipped through. Being apart today felt impossible. My fists clenched. My jaw ached from how hard I was grinding my teeth. I didn't say anything that night. I lay beside her in bed, still and calm as a frozen lake. But under the surface, a storm was building. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to her, my back turned, staring at the shadows on the wall. Every little sound she made, every sleepy sigh, every rustle of the blanket, felt like static in my ears. My mind wasn't just racing. It was plotting. The next morning, I was Mr. Routine. "Coffee?" I asked, handing her a mug just the way she liked it. Splash of oat milk, tiny spoon of sugar, foam like she was royalty. She looked at me, smiling. "You're spoiling me." I smiled back. Just getting started. Because while she was sipping her caffeine and checking social media, I was already texting my friend Marcus. He worked in tech security, more specifically, private cybersecurity. If anyone knew how to catch someone being dishonest without them catching on, it was Marcus. "Need a favor," I typed. Discreet. "I'll explain in person." We met that night in his garage. "She really left that trail?" Marcus asked. "What's the plan?" "Quiet moves," I said. "The queen's already on the board. It's just a matter of time before the king's cornered." He laughed. "Man, you're scarier than your LinkedIn profile suggests." Over the next few days, Marcus helped me quietly gather evidence. A device tucked into Rachel's car. A discreet camera in the hallway, set to record only when there was movement. Even her home office wasn't off limits. I told her I was setting up a smart speaker. What she didn't know was, I'd finally started listening to. But that wasn't the fun part. One night, Rachel got home late again. She looked like she'd come straight from a place she hadn't told me about. "Where were you?" I asked casually. "Oh, just drinks with the girls from work," she chirped, kicking off her heels. I leaned against the counter. "Which girls?" She blinked. "You don't know them. Try me." She floundered for half a second before recovering. "Tina and Jenna. You met Tina once." I nodded slowly. "Tell her I said hi next time." The next day, I checked the footage. She didn't go to any bar. She picked up James in a nearby parking lot and drove to a lakefront club. Two things jumped out. 1. James was wearing a wedding ring. 2. That lakefront was under Rachel's maiden name. She'd planned all this. Carefully, but not carefully enough. That same night, Rachel's phone rang while she was in the shower. I was in the bedroom. The caller ID said, Mom. Normally, I'd never touch her phone. But since Mom was one of the voices I overheard in the kitchen, I was curious. I answered. There was a pause. Then her mother's voice, quiet but frantic. Rachel? You didn't tell him yet, did you? I didn't say anything. Rachel? Silence. Then she muttered, God, please just make it through the next few years. He's too smart if he finds out James isn't the only one. Click. My heart dropped. I stared at the phone, waiting for it to explode or tell me this was a prank. Not the only one? There was another man? I walked out to the backyard and stared at the pool I'd installed for her birthday last summer. The pool she said she relaxes in when she needs to escape. I chuckled bitterly. Escape to who? Rachel? She had no idea. I wasn't just planning a divorce. I was planning a performance. And soon, everyone, her parents, James, and whatever mystery man number 2 was, would be in the audience. Because you see, Rachel and I weren't just married. We'd been married exactly 10 years. And our anniversary was in 4 days. She had no idea it would be the last one. By the next morning, the idea of celebrating 10 years with Rachel had turned from a romantic milestone into a trapdoor I was more than happy to let her fall through. But I wasn't done gathering information. Marcus, I said over the phone, I need a full data pull. All text backups, cloud files, deleted messages. If she sneezed near a GPS signal, I want to know about it. He whistled. You're really going for the slow burn takedown, huh? No, I replied. A theater production. She's going to think I'm throwing her the best anniversary of her life. And she did. Babe, Rachel said, practically bouncing into the kitchen later that day. You remembered. Of course I did. I'd left a note on the fridge. 10 years and still in love with the same woman. Dinner plans tonight. Dress nice. She hugged me. I was so sure you forgot. I even told my mom you probably wouldn't do anything special. Oh, I said with a smile. Your mom has no idea what I have planned. She looked touched. I nearly laughed. I'd reserved a private room at a high-end restaurant downtown, but I didn't just book it for the ambience. I booked it because James's restaurant, yes, that James, was closed for renovations, and I knew he liked to dine at this place on Wednesdays. I pulled a few strings and confirmed he had a reservation at 8:30. Ours was at 7. The goal? Overlap. Then Marcus had uncovered messages, deleted ones, that pointed to a second man. His name? Kyle. Married. Gym owner. And apparently, he and Rachel had started before James. In fact, it seemed Kyle had been the original secret, and when he pulled away, James quietly took his place. I didn't tell Rachel I knew. Yet, instead, I complimented her dress, kissed her cheek, and acted like a man deeply in love. She soaked it up. Dinner was lovely. She laughed at every joke, toasted to the best decade of her life, and even teared up a little when the waiter brought over a dessert plate that said to 10 more. She leaned over the candlelight. I really needed this, she said. I know, I said. Soak it in. At exactly 8:29, James walked in, arm in arm with a redhead I didn't recognize. Rachel saw him. Her entire body tensed. Oh my God, she whispered. I'm starting to mine. Friend of yours? I asked, sipping my wine like nothing was happening. She gave a quick, tight laugh. He owns a place I go to sometimes. Oh, I said. Funny he's here tonight. Small city. She nodded, barely breathing. Her hand went at her wine glass, trembling. James spotted us. Froze. Then did a double take. I watched the panic bloom on Rachel's face as James whispered something to his date and pretended not to know us. That's when I laid down the first card. Oh, by the way, I said, sliding a sleek envelope across the table, I got you something else too. Rachel blinked, her hand hovering. Open it. Inside? A printed screenshot. Rachel and Kyle, having what looked like a private in the back of the gym. The footage had a timestamp and location tag. She went white. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Don't worry, I said softly. That's not even the worst one. I figured I'd give you a preview. The full album gets unveiled at home. She looked around the restaurant, face flushing. You planned this, she whispered, voice trembling. Oh yeah, I replied. I planned it. Thought we should commemorate the real 10 years. You know, 10 years of me being faithful And you being busy. She pushed back from the table like she was going to run, but I held up a hand. You leave this table, I send everything to your parents. All of it. Screenshots. Videos. The works. She sank back into her seat, cheeks blotched. Why are you doing this? She said in a hiss. I leaned in. Because you weren't honest. Because you used me. Because your parents tried to cover it. And because you forgot, I'm not just your husband. I know exactly how to protect what matters, without a scene. Then I smiled. You ready for dessert? Rachel was too busy trying to keep her breathing under control. I, on the other hand, enjoyed the final few sips of my wine like it was victory in a glass. You're going to regret this, she finally said, voice low. You think you're so clever? This little trap? Oh, I don't think I'm clever, I replied. I know I'm patient. That's scarier. We left the restaurant in silence. James pretended not to see us. I gave him a polite little nod on the way out. Back at home, Rachel tried to go straight upstairs. I didn't stop her. I just said one thing that froze her halfway up the steps. Kyle's wife knows. She turned so fast I thought she'd trip. You're lying. Try me. Her name's Melissa. Lovely woman. I sent her an anonymous envelope last week. Photocopies only, no return address. I figured she deserved to know what her husband was really doing during work hours. You're bluffing, Rachel snapped, gripping the banister like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I pulled out my phone, tapped once, and showed her the screen. A message. From Melissa. Thank you. You just saved me from another decade of lies. The locks are changed. He won't be coming home tonight. Rachel collapsed onto the steps. He's gone, she asked in a whisper. Gone, divorced, and unemployed, I replied. I made a few calls to the local athletic board. Let's just say mixing business and personal matters came back to bite him. She started crying then. The first real tears. But I didn't flinch. Because this wasn't the end. Now, I said calmly, go upstairs. Pack a bag. You'll be staying with your parents for the weekend. Her head shot up. What? You heard me. Go home. Tell your parents everything. Or don't. Doesn't matter. But by Monday, you're out of this house permanently. You can't just throw me out. I smiled. This house is in my name. You signed a post-nup after your last Vegas girls trip. Remember? Ironclad. Notarized. With a clause that removes spousal claim in the event of a breach of trust. You violated it 3 times over. She looked at me like she'd just swallowed a wasp. You're the worst kind of person. No, Rachel. I was a husband. She stood, wobbling slightly, rage burning through the mascara streaks on her cheeks. I'll take the kids. About that, I said, walking to the kitchen counter. I opened a drawer and pulled out a printed report. Custody evaluator. I'd been working with a lawyer. And Marcus? He installed cameras for more than just catching your little trysts. He's got everything, even that night you got back from yoga, wine in hand, and nearly walked into the wrong room. She went pale. That wasn't. Doesn't matter. It's on tape. Along with you forgetting to pick up Lily twice from school. The principal had to call me. And let's not forget the messages about needing a break from being a mom. I've got screenshots. Her voice cracked. You wouldn't. I leaned in, resting both palms on the counter. I will. And I have. If you fight me on custody, you'll lose. If you drag this into court, I will paint the most accurate picture of who you've become. And the judge? Won't like it. She didn't speak. Just stood there like the storm had finally hit her. Now, I said again, calmly. Pack a bag. 10 minutes later, she left. And you know what? It was quiet. Blissfully, beautifully quiet. That was the night, sat on the couch, and watched the security footage from the week she claimed to be on a retreat. She wasn't with James or Kyle. There was someone else. I saw her with someone unexpected. Her boss. Oh, Rachel. You really shouldn't have underestimated me. It's a strange feeling, realizing your marriage was just a paper, pretty from the outside, hollow within, and one match away from burning down. Rachel had been out of the house for 2 days when I took a deeper dive into the footage from her wellness retreat. No yoga mats. No juice cleanses. Just her boss, Evan Russo, vice president of marketing. Married, father of 2, known in local circles for his commitment to family values. Cute. In the footage, I saw them check into a beachside rental just an hour down the coast. No disguises. No hesitation. They even posed for a balcony selfie. That was the shot I sent to Evan's company's ethics committee later that night, along with a copy of their firm's employee relationship policy. I didn't stop there. I made an anonymous LinkedIn profile posing as a former intern. I attached screenshots from Rachel's work emails that Marcus had retrieved, emails that revealed not just an affair, but favoritism in promotions, questionable scheduling practices, and concerning control over her team's bonuses. It took 36 hours before Evan was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Rachel called me that night. I didn't answer. She texted instead. Rachel, what did you do? Me, you mean besides getting him a long overdue HR audit? Just fulfilling a request. He told you once, didn't he? That he wanted to be free like you? Consider it granted. She didn't respond. 3 hours later, her mother called. Voicemail. She sounded livid. You're tearing everything apart. This isn't just about you anymore. She's a mother. Think about the kids. I did think about them. Every night. That's why I'd already filed for emergency temporary custody the week before, under the grounds of parental instability and emotional abandonment. When Rachel found out, through the court notice, I'm told she screamed so loud at her parents' house that a neighbor called the cops. The next morning, she tried to come home. He didn't work. She banged on the door like a woman possessed. I live here, she yelled, as if volume could override contract law. I opened the door, stepped out onto the porch, and said, correction, you used to live here. Now it's just me, Ethan, and Lily. You can't just lock me out, she hissed. I did. You walked out on your own. Go read the prenup and the postnup. They're both very clear. You're heartless. No, I said quietly. I just finally learned how to stop being the one who loves blindly. She started crying again, but I could tell it wasn't grief. It was rage. Rage that her game had rules now. Rage that I'd rewritten them. Then she made her last move. I'll take them from you in court, she said through clenched teeth. You can't isolate them from their mother. I stepped closer. You sure you want to take this to court? Because if we do, every judge in this county will see the footage of you out with your boss while your phone lit up with messages from Lily, asking why you missed her piano recital. Her lips parted like she was about to argue. Then she stopped. She knew. I wasn't bluffing. She turned and walked away. That night, Ethan sat on the couch eating popcorn while we watched a nature documentary. Lily sat beside me coloring in one of her books. I looked around the living room. Rachel's parents hadn't called me directly since the day I kicked her out. They'd texted, sure, passive-aggressive little notes like, hope the kids are adjusting okay, considering, or Rachel's been crying all night. Maybe you could be a decent human and let her see the children. But on the fourth morning after the evacuation, my phone rang. Her dad, Martin. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before answering. Hello. His voice came through, stiff as starched laundry. We need to talk. Face to face. About what? You know what? Then you know the answer's no. You can't keep our grandkids from us. I'm not. You're welcome to see them. Just not at my house. And not while you're enabling Rachel's campaign of denial. Pause. You're not thinking clearly, Martin said. This vindictive streak, you're ruining a family. No, I replied. Rachel did that. I'm just cleaning up the debris. Later that evening, they showed up uninvited. Knocked on the door like Jehovah's Witnesses with a vendetta. I stepped out onto the porch again. This was becoming our little ritual, apparently. Jonathan, her mom, Carol, began. You've made your point. But Rachel is still their mother. And I'm still their father, I said. Only difference is, I didn't lie to them for years while sneaking off with 3 different men. Carol's nostrils flared. She made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting to text back. You made a choice, and it wasn't an accident. Martin tried a softer approach. Come on, son. You were always like a second son to us. Don't throw away 10 years. That did it. I stepped closer, keeping my voice calm but cold. Let me tell you something. You knew. They blinked. What? You knew about James. I heard you. That day in the kitchen while I was bringing in snacks. You said, and I quote, he wasn't supposed to find out until the kids were 18. So don't you dare stand here and act like you're some confused, heartbroken parents. Their faces dropped. You eavesdropped on us? Carol snapped. No. I overheard you in my kitchen while I was hosting your grandson's birthday party. Big difference. Carol stepped forward. You don't have to destroy her. She's still the mother of your kids. And yet, here you are, more concerned about your daughter's reputation than the fact she was sneaking out while Ethan had a fever and Lily needed help with her math homework. Martin exhaled sharply, hands on hips. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Not even a little, I said. But I am finishing it. They left soon after. Carol crying. Martin muttering under his breath like he was the victim in all this. The next day, I got a call from Rachel. Blocked number. I let it ring. Voicemail transcribed itself in real time on my screen. Rachel, they're making this worse. I didn't want them to go over there. I just missed the kids. Please, let me see them. I don't care if we talk. I just want to see them. I stared at the message for a while. Then I texted her. Me, supervised visit. Public place. Sunday at 2. You bring only yourself. She replied almost instantly. Thank you. I didn't respond. Because Sunday? That was when she'd see something even more painful than being kicked out. She'd see how peaceful the kids were without her. And she'd finally realize. She was no longer the center of the universe. I picked the local botanical gardens for the meetup. Public, serene, full of families, perfectly safe and impossible to cause a scene without becoming the next viral cautionary tale. Rachel arrived early. She wore a pale blue sundress. Hair curled, makeup done to perfection. She looked like the idea of a mother she wanted to project, not the one who vanished during family movie night to sneak into Evan's beach rental. The kids were in the back seat, quiet but calm. I looked at them in the rearview mirror before we got out. Remember, I said, we're just visiting. If you feel weird or uncomfortable, you tell me. We leave when you want to. They nodded. As we walked in, I saw her waiting by the fountain, hands clasped like she was praying for a miracle. Hi, sweethearts, she called out, voice wavering. Lily gave a polite little wave. Ethan nodded, hesitant. They sat on the bench beside her. I stayed standing nearby, arms folded. Rachel started out soft. I've missed you both so much. I think about you every second. I know things have been confusing lately, but Mommy's trying to make it better. Ethan looked at her. Then why were you gone so much? Rachel's face flickered. Work was hard. I had to travel. Every week? Lily asked, fiddling with a flower in her hand. Even on recital day? I didn't mean to miss that. I got stuck. I stepped forward, not saying a word. Just a reminder, don't lie again. She caught my look and stopped herself. I'm sorry, she finally said. You're right. I messed up. There it was. A glimmer of honesty. But it didn't last long. From behind the gardens, a figure appeared, tall, stocky, looking confused. It was Kyle, the second man. Apparently, he'd been told this was a good time to clear the air. Rachel jumped up like she'd seen a ghost. What are you doing here? Kyle stopped in his tracks. You texted me. Rachel's face went full panic. No, I didn't. I pulled out my phone and smiled. Actually, I did. Her mouth dropped open. You said you wanted to make amends, I added. Figured he should hear it in person. Kyle looked from her to me. This is insane. You're not wrong, I said. But I'm glad you're here. I think Rachel has something to tell you about how much of your marriage she helped destroy. Rachel looked like she might faint. The kids watched. This isn't the place, she hissed. No, this is exactly the place, I replied. A garden. Where people come to pull out weeds. Kyle looked at Rachel. You told me you didn't know about us. She swallowed. I didn't expect him to find out. Well, I said, I didn't expect my wife to be starring in her own drama about broken vows. Yet here we are. Rachel turned to the kids. Can we please just go somewhere else? Just us. Lily stood up. I want to go home now. Ethan followed, his voice steady. Yeah, I'm done. Rachel's hands trembled as they walked back to me. She reached out, just a little, but stopped herself. I nodded once to her. Cold. Final. Thank you for coming. Then I turned, one child on each side, and walked away. Behind me, I could hear Rachel sobbing quietly. Kyle muttered something under his breath and walked in the other direction. The sun was shining. The flowers were in bloom. And for the first time in a long while, I felt clean. I should have known Rachel wouldn't go down without trying at least one desperate Hail Mary. 3 days after the garden fiasco, I got served. A formal notice from her lawyer. A petition to revise the temporary custody order, citing things like emotional distancing, uncooperative communication, and, you'll love this, stress caused by limited access to the children. In plain English, she accused me of turning the kids against her. I read the entire stack while sipping coffee like I was perusing a Sunday crossword. Nice try. See, what she didn't know was that I'd already started documenting every communication, every handoff, every missed call where she promised to visit and didn't show. More than that, the kids were now in therapy. A smart, neutral, court-approved therapist. One who'd already written a preliminary report. It wasn't flattering. For her. I called my attorney, Greg, a man so calm he made glaciers look twitchy. She's banking on emotion, Greg said, scanning the motion. But she's got no pattern of parenting stability to support her claim. You've got the schedule, the therapist's notes, the videos. She's swinging blind. So what do? We wait. File a rebuttal. Then counter. What's the counter? Greg looked up, smiled slightly. Full legal custody. You're ready. I nodded. Time to finish this. When the court date rolled around, Rachel strutted in with a stiff jaw, new heels, and the exact same delusion that charm could still win this. Her lawyer made some passionate arguments that I was too controlling, that I had influenced how others saw her, and that Rachel was being treated unfairly for prioritizing her own well-being. The judge raised an eyebrow. So you admit she stepped outside the marriage? Her lawyer stammered. Well, that's not the central issue here, Your Honor. It is to me, the judge cut in. Continue. Then it was Greg's turn. He didn't raise his voice, didn't rattle papers. He just handed over a USB stick and said, Your Honor, this contains timestamped footage of Ms. Harper arriving at a rental with a man identified as her superior at work. This was during a period she claimed to be attending her daughter's school function. The footage is accompanied by text message records and voicemail transcriptions, all available in digital format. Rachel's face went pale. Greg continued. Attached are letters from 2 different therapists. One assessing the children, the other reviewing patterns of neglect and behavioral inconsistencies. The evidence outlines a consistent pattern of emotional disengagement and shifting priorities away from the family. We're requesting sole legal custody. The judge sat back. Anything else? Greg nodded. Yes, one more detail. The children requested, independently, that any future visits with Ms. Harper be supervised. Rachel's jaw dropped. No, she said quickly. That's not true. You influenced them. This isn't how they really feel. The judge held up a hand. Ms. Harper, please. I have their signed statements. I've reviewed the session notes. They clearly feel unsafe and uncertain with you right now. That's not something coaching produces. That's something neglect causes. Silence. Just the soft click of the courtroom clock. Then the gavel came down. Mr. Harper retains full custody. Supervised visits only. Reevaluation in 6 months. Court is adjourned. Rachel didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there staring at the floor like it had answers. Greg and I walked out calmly. You all right? He asked. I'm free, I said. And so are they. I buckled Lily in her car seat that evening. Ethan sat in the front, humming to himself. We picked up milkshakes. No ceremony. Just peace. And sometimes, that's the sweetest victory. I'd almost started to believe she was done. Weeks passed. The kids were settling into the new rhythm. Mornings had laughter again. Evenings had homework, pizza, and bad movies on the couch. Then Carol called. Not her usual passive-aggressive voicemail. No, this time she was sobbing. She's gone, she said between gasps. Rachel left a note. She said she's not fit to be a mother. She's going away. We don't know where she is. I stayed silent for a moment, waiting for the part one knew was coming. We think it's your fault, Carol snapped through her tears. You took everything from her. She was broken. You could have shown mercy. There it was. Mercy. That was rich. I didn't respond. Just hung up and called Greg. This sounds like a play, I said. Public sympathy grab, he replied. Classic. Sure enough, 2 days later, bam. A story appeared on a local Family Matters blog. An anonymous letter from a devastated mother who'd been humiliated and cut out of her children's lives by a controlling ex-husband. She said she was made to feel small, misled, and unfairly blamed just for being herself. The blog post went semi-viral. Some people offered sympathy. Others sniffed out the holes. But the kicker? She named me. Full name. Job title. Even attached a photo of us from an old vacation, cropped so that she looked sorrowful and I looked like a dictator in a Hawaiian shirt. Marcus called me the next morning. So she's going public with this now? Apparently. She forgot who helped build your company's media strategy. He sent me a link. I clicked it. A perfectly timed press release about a new nonprofit campaign I'd quietly launched 2 months earlier, mentorship for single fathers, support groups, legal aid for dads going through divorce. It had already picked up momentum in local circles. And now, with Rachel's tantrum playing out online, it looked like a direct contrast. You'll love this. Someone asked me to talk on a podcast about navigating betrayal and fatherhood. After the host quoted her anonymous blog next to court records, also her. But the real blow came 2 weeks later. Ethan got a text from a number he didn't recognize. It was a photo of Rachel lying on a beach chair, sunglasses on, drink in hand. Caption: I'll be back when the drama cools off. Miss you. Don't believe what he says. He showed it to me, confused and hurt. Why'd she send me this? He asked. Why lie to Grandma if she's just on vacation? I knelt beside him. Because sometimes people would rather fake being broken than admit they broke themselves. He nodded slowly, tears brimming. I don't get it, he whispered. I just wanted her to care. She does, I said gently. Just not the way you need her to. Later that night, I forwarded the message to Greg. And the therapist. In the court. Documented. Pattern. Irresponsible contact. Next day, visitation revoked. And with that, Rachel became someone who kept her distance from everything that mattered. 6 months passed, and I didn't hear a word from Rachel. No, I've changed emails. No midnight voicemails filled with regret. Not even a birthday card for the kids. It was like she'd vanished, poof, off the edge of the world. And the funny thing was, it was peaceful. Quiet in the kind of way you don't appreciate until you've lived through chaos wearing a smile every day. Ethan made honor roll. Lily started dance. I was at every performance, every parent night, every damn school bake sale. They were thriving. One evening, Lily asked, Is Mommy still mad at us? I looked her right in the eye. No, I said. She's just somewhere else right now. Will she come back? Ethan answered for me. Maybe. But we're good, right? Lily nodded. That was it. No drama. Just two kids finally learning that love didn't have to be confusing. I never blocked Rachel. I didn't need to. You don't build walls for someone who already locked themselves out. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, I got a letter. Real paper. No return address. Inside, a folded note and a check. The note read, I don't expect forgiveness, but I am sorry. Not for leaving. For taking so long to realize I should have. Tell the kids I'm okay. Maybe one day I'll be someone worth knowing again. No name signed. Just her handwriting. I recognized it from 1,000 grocery lists and birthday cards. Same sharp R. Same curling Y. The check was for a year's worth of child support. It didn't bounce. I didn't cash it either. I tucked the note into a box I keep on the top shelf in my closet. The one labeled Old Business. Because that's all it was now. Old business. The kids and I moved the following spring. New house. Bigger yard. Same dog. I kept my job, but cut back hours. Started coaching Ethan's baseball team. Learned how to French braid for Lily's recitals. Still terrible at it, but she says I'm getting better. And on quiet evenings, sometimes I sit on the porch, glass of iced tea in hand, and think about future.